Saturday. Christmas comes early.
Unbelievable. Welcome to this incredible scene.
Bills.
To the end zone.
Chargers.
It's a touchdown.
An exclusive NFL game.
That's fantastic.
Live in primetime.
Wow.
Only on Peacock.
With a Christmas gift to their fans.
They're having some fun now.
Bills versus Chargers. Saturday, 7:30 Eastern. Exclusively on Peacock.
Apple Gift Card is a practical gift that unlocks a world of entertainment and fun. You can send it via email or give a physical card to your loved ones. Your friends and family can spend it on their favorite Apple services, including Apple subscriptions. Apple Gift Card can be used to buy all things Apple. Products, accessories, apps, games, movies, TV shows, iCloud Plus, and more. Visit apple.com for details and to send Apple Gift Cards to your friends and family this holiday season.
'Tis the season to shine with H&M. Discover the holiday collection and find fashionable pieces for your wardrobe or for under the tree. Get inspired and dazzle with this year's glam. From tuxedo styles, bow detailed pieces, impressive prints, and more. From unforgettable looks to unforgettable gifts. With fashion finds to home decor, find it all at H&M. Treat your loved ones and yourself this season. Shop in-store or at hm.com.
The holidays are a time to feel and create joy. And what could be more joyous than the look on her face as she unwraps a stunning new jewelry piece from Blue Nile? How about getting 50% off your purchase? Blue Nile offers premium quality, priced below traditional retail. Their online experts are available 24/7 to answer any questions and make sure you've picked the perfect gift. For a limited time, you can get 50% off at BlueNile.com. That's 50% off at BlueNile.com.
Thank you.
Welcome back to another episode of Keeping Current with Kansas City. This is Thad Bell from Kansas City Soccer Journal. With me, I have Jillian Carroll Letrinko.
Nicely done.
Until I say it a couple times, I will make sure I'm trying to say it right. And most of the time, I'll just call you Jillian. Also with me, I have Daniel Sperry, who... Can you talk now, Daniel?
Yes, I should be able to hear me. Can you hear me all right?
Yes. You were just tapping things, so I was worried that you were lost again.
Nope.
Daniel Sperry from the Kansas City Star. We are here to talk the Kansas City Current and two games. The past game, a loss at Angel City, and the upcoming game against San Diego. Jillian, I know you didn't get to see all of the game live, but
Yeah.
I know you have probably went back and watched most of it, or at least as much as you could. What stood out for you?
Yeah, I was actually on a plane during the game, so I wasn't able to catch it live, but saw some highlights. I think this is one of those, a tale of two halves, right? As far as obviously the results, dropping 3 in the first half, and then of course keeping them to none in the second, but then going ahead and grabbing their own 2. KC Current didn't really look themselves for the better part of what I could tell from the first half. But I think anytime a team is able to go to the locker room down 3 goals and come back and keep their opponent to none and also put 2 in, I mean, I just think that is an incredible story of resilience. And I really think this game is almost like the identity of this team right now, just because, starting early with some unfortunate results, some off the field happenings that didn't, necessarily go the team's way, if you will. And then, they had all these reasons to put their head down, all these reasons to kind of throw your arms up and quit, if you will, but they didn't. And so, in fact, they came out with like a banger of a goal from Izzy Rodriguez. How cool. And I'm so excited for her because I feel like she's been playing progressively better and being able to really find her role, and as it evolves is really giving more and more each match. And so for her to smack that sucker home, that was really cool. But yeah, I think it's almost a representation of like the team overall. But my biggest takeaway is just the resilience factor. Imagine, I know I've done it, going to the locker room down 3 goals you just want to like crawl in a hole, right?
Yep.
And so I just really appreciated the way they responded. And I think that's the biggest takeaway, as far as not quitting, coming back and putting 2 in, and just finding a way to compete until the very last minute. So hopefully there's some things to learn about, how you have to start the match, organized and with a plan and execute it. And then we saw a little bit of changes, and adapting. So yeah, again, tough first half, impressive mindset coming out into second, and hopefully they'll take a little bit of the momentum of the second half into this week's game.
How about you, Daniel? What stood out for you?
I think Jillian's right in the sense that they didn't look themselves for a better part of the first half. They created some chances, and we saw them create the type of chances that they created before, but they were incredibly frenetic going forward. And there's as we talked with Caroline this over the week, there was a really large gap between the back line and the midfield and the attack, and it was very difficult for them to progress the ball. And I just, it was one of those games where it was the first time where I thought maybe they don't need the extra defender back there. And of course, she made that, the change at halftime to put them in a back four. And I really like how that move worked out. Mimi was all right in holding up play there as a striker. I actually would be curious to see Michelle kind of play that role a little bit, just as her ability to drop in and almost do false nine type things and combine with Dabinia would have been really interesting to see from that spot. But I know Mimi's best position is as her preferred position, goodness gracious, is as a 9. And so, in doing that, made the changes that they did, I think they showed one. I think this coaching staff showed a really good tactical awareness, and I think at the times where they have flipped to a back four in game or done something different, it's been really good, and been able to make that change. I thought Potter was really good at it last year too, at little tweaks and adjustments that he would make as the game went on. But to see the all-out tactical change like that, come out very completely different look and jump on Angel City from the get-go was really, really impressive. And, really Alexis Spantra hit her shot there at the end of the match really, really well. It just barely misses wide. Otherwise, we're maybe talking about an incredible comeback and an incredible result, because I thought that was some of her best minutes with the team so far, and that chance was right there. So, in general, I think there's a lot of good things to take away from the second half. Alex Morgan had a very good quote a couple, I think it was days before this game, and I saw it somewhere, but she talked about how she never learned more from anything except for losing. Like she learned the most from her losses. And you don't learn from winning. You don't learn as much from winning as you do from losing. And so I would like to see how this team learns from that 15-minute stretch where they really got blasted and shredded apart there. But there are other things in that half that they can learn from too, in the first half, about how mentally to approach what happens when you concede in the fashion that they did, and managing the emotional thing, but also maybe not being so antsy to go forward. I think they had so much joy early going forward that they started just throwing numbers forward, and they kind of played into Angel City's hands of being a fast, frenetic. They just want to jump on you from the get-go, and it kind of is shown in their score lines. They score a ton of goals. They concede a ton of goals because the games are so wide open for it. And so once you get to the second half, they were more in control of the game and controlled the tempo and the flow. And then all of a sudden, Angel City had nothing going for them. So learning moments for a team that was relatively young on the field too. But overall, I think, the biggest thing that I think is just that being able to see them flip the switch in the middle of a game, I think bodes well for them going forward.
And I know Coach Caroline mentioned after the game, and then again when we talked to her earlier this week, about how basically they weren't prepared for that goal, and and the crowd, and they got shook a little bit, and they tried to recover from it and go forward and like get the goal back, but when maybe they should have just settled in a little bit and made sure that they didn't give up something else. That is an indicator of a young back line, and we, the two rookies and in Croy and Gabrielle, and then a third year, really mostly a second year player in Addison. That's an example of where if there was a more experienced player back there, maybe they gather them up a little bit and control it, and they only give up 1 goal or 2 goals, and then that's a very much easier comeback than being 3 goals down.
Correct.
And also, it's hard to stop Alyssa Thompson for an entire game.
Yeah. I think we're seeing pretty quickly her transcendency, and how darn good she is. And I think it won't be very long before she's held in the same air of respect as Sophia Smith and some of the other dynamic young attackers that are about and Mal Swanson, and she has a very bright future ahead of her.
She reminds me of this is taking it back, but she reminds me of Mia Hamm in the way she accelerates. It's like she has another gear, and it just comes faster for her than everyone else, like Sophia Smith as well. But it makes me think of Mia Hamm, like that's my generation, I guess. But
that is a throwback. I wouldn't have necessarily thought that, but that's
the acceleration away. It was as if she got a head start or something, and I feel like that with Alyssa Thompson too.
I went to the game when they called her up for the national team. They played against Ireland in St. Louis, and I was at that game, and I was basically positioned shooting both halves where she was basically running right at me, and I'm like, I was just so impressed. And the last player that I felt that impressed by was Sophia Smith.
Yeah.
So I expect really big things out of her. So giving up a goal to her might suck, but it is it is the future. Now we just need Michelle to jump on that bandwagon. And
I tell you what, I think she is so close. I think it's just going to happen, and when it does, it's going to be like fireworks, because I think it's just going to be one after the other. But I mean, sure, she hasn't put one in the back of the net yet, but she has created so many chances and so many goals for the team. So it's she's a special one. I've yet to see somebody work so hard off the ball for not even a ball that she's 100% sure she's going to win. Everything she runs at, whether she has a 20% chance of getting there or a 90% chance, she just goes 150% every single time. I'm so impressed by her work rate.
Yeah, one of us asked Coach about that in this week and said, how close is she? And it was, I forget her exact words, but it was very close, very close. Like,
get a score. Yeah.
It would be nice to see a goal this weekend from her.
Would be nice. I know.
Could you imagine the crowd? They would go bananas.
I've heard it's going to be a very large crowd as well. So I think.
Yes,
I think we might be pushing record again, if not breaking it again. So
I've heard it's very close. So if anybody's listening and they don't have tickets to it already, go ahead and go. It's a good day to take a mother out, or or just go as a soccer fan. So
support the moms that are going to be playing. I just think that's so cool. We're gonna have a few on the field this week, so I think it's so cool.
Yeah.
So speaking of this weekend, I know, Jillian, you have a limited amount of time you can be with us tonight, but what are you expecting this weekend? Should be a good match against San Diego.
Yeah, first of all, thank you. I probably will hop off here soon, but I'm very, very excited. I think the water war, right, which I think is so funny. But we'll see. I think it's going to be a really heated match. I think both teams are going to come in with a very calculated plan and try to execute, obviously. I just feel like there's a little bit of extra fire within the KC Current squad after giving up those 3 goals. I think they all were stunned the first time they gave up so many goals against Portland. I think there was a shock factor, remember, in that match.
Yep.
But I think they're ticked off, and I think that they're kind of wanting to come out and right the wrong. And so we saw that in the second half. But like I said, I just think that they're going to come into this game with a little bit of extra fire, a little bit of extra motivation. But yeah, I am really excited. My eyes are going to be on Cooper. I'm really excited for her. I think she just keeps learning her new role, coming from Duke where she was the workhorse. She had to do most of everything on her own. Coming into this squad, when you have a Debinho with you and you have, Cece Kaiser, you have other Mimi Larson, other weapons around you, it's different. And so I think she's still learning her place and creating it. And so I'm really excited to watch her. And then the chemistry between Lola Bonta and Debinha, it's like they're sisters or something, and it's really coming together. There's just been those cheeky little plays and runs, and we all knew it would happen, but now we're seeing it. And so it's really coming together. And yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm thrilled beyond belief with the back line, the rookies that have stepped up and are playing like wise veterans, specifically Gabrielle Robinson. Through the center, I think that whoever gets the call for the starting gig is going to be critical, but I think is going to do a really good job. Really impressed with Izzy Rodriguez. Again, Lola Bonta is just the steadfast, going to battle it out, right? But I'm really excited for it. And I think it's going to be offensive heavy for the current, based off of just kind of what I'm seeing with like the vibe and a little bit of a chip on their shoulder after this last match.
It is interesting since they went through the change, I'll call it that, when coaching change happened. They have consistently scored 2 goals each game. Now they need to break it up to 3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They've scored 2 goals in every game since the Portland loss.
Portland, okay.
Oh, after the Portland loss. So Chicago, they scored twice. Yeah, it's been 4 straight games with those.
Yep. So now they need to up that ante a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it'll be interesting to see San Diego come in. I know they're dealing with their own injury crisis in the middle of the field at the moment. I think Taylor Korniak and Eggman or Von Eggman, is that the right name? I am blanking at it right now. I should know this. Yeah, Emily Von Eggman.
Okay, yeah.
They've been dealing with a tiny bit of an injury crisis there in the midfield, and I think it'll be interesting to see what who is providing service to Alex Morgan, because she is more of the kind of the pinnacle focal point, the end game of the attack, versus someone who's going to drop in and create and take on the ball these days. So it'll be interesting to see how San Diego comes out for this, and do they just try and play on the back foot and counter and absorb a lot of the pressure that I think the Colonel, as you mentioned, will put on at home. It's going to be interesting. If you think about the 2 games between the 2 last year, the current one, that game against San Diego was a really good showing for them. One at home because it was a record breaker then, and I think it was a big, very large sellout kind of a crowd. I think it was the night before too. U.S. men's national team was here, so already a ton of people in town. It was a big kind of spectacle thing. But the Current played really well throughout that match. Gave up a really late equalizer, but then they went into San Diego, played just as well, if not even better, and really manhandled that match. Took it by the scruff of the neck, however you want to say it. Woman handled, same thing. I don't know. We'll get it right there. But they were definitely in control of the match on San Diego's home turf, literal turf, at the old stadium. And I think that was just kind of I think who the Current are plays well with what San Diego tries to be. And I think that was kind of what, I won't say that San Diego's predictable, but it seemed like Caroline was hinting at the fact that, like, what San Diego's going to do. And, at Angel City, a little bit different, a little bit frenetic. They can throw a bunch of different looks at you. And do a bunch of different things. So this will be a very interesting game for them to see how the current game plan it, because I think the current are the ones that are a little bit less predictable now, with the ability to flip formations and players like Izzy can play out of position. Haley can play out of position. We're still not sure what's up with not Kristen, Kate Del Fava yet, whether or not she's all right. I know she took a pretty big shiner in that first half, but didn't come back for the second half when she came off. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the lineup and how they choose. But I think that's kind of the wrinkle in the back pocket for Caroline in this match.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm so curious as to who will get the start in goal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm leaning toward Cassie Miller.
Okay.
Some consistency, and based off of coach in the past has said, I like to reward the fantastic play. And yeah, dropping 3 goals, like you wouldn't say like that's a reward or a rewardable performance. But again, in the second half, some big, she came up again and did well. And I don't know. I guess I'm looking at a big picture too, with starting Sunday. I think it's another 3 game in 7 days, right?
Yeah.
Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So I predict we see AD Franch in one of those 3. I'm thinking maybe the Wednesday, but I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I'd be curious to see her play on Mother's Day and to see her start in. Just a thought on that. It would be a good opportunity there. For an article that I'm working on, I kind of hope that might be the case as well. But that's not inside information. I don't know the starting lineup, but
self-pimping though, that's good.
Hey, we'll do that. But it's one of those where it's like, I think that if you choose to do it, then you do. I also think, the idea of the 3 goals, I don't know that I would put any of those necessarily on Cassie. But at the same time, you say what you say with the performances and not having a clean sheet. And you've got a goalkeeper who not only is, a veteran and a very well-respected and a very well-liked veteran, but a veteran that's trying to make a World Cup roster and get on the plane to Australia and New Zealand. And I think at some point she deserves another opportunity. And this might be the right situation to do that. And so it'll be interesting to see. I know last year it was interesting. AD Franch didn't start off the year very well either. And Cassie came in, played brilliantly in the Challenge Cup games that she was given. And all of a sudden, AD Franch came out with a new edge to kind of compete for her playing time and make sure that starting spot was hers. And then we saw her be as good as she was for the entire season. And so obviously that goalkeeper is still there in AD Franch. And I'm curious to see how she responds when given the playing time again.
Yeah.
We'll Jillian, I want to give you an easy out if you need to leave.
I am. I appreciate it. Thanks. Tomorrow is going to be one heck of a day. But I appreciate the time and really looking forward to it.
And if people will get up early enough tomorrow, they will see you where?
9 a.m. KCTV 5, 9 to 10. Check us out.
There we go.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks for being
joining.
on.
Always good to see you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye. All right. Not that we were trying to get rid of Jillian, but she needs to get her rest. So
she does. And we're at this point. I feel like we've pretty much talked about everything we want to talk about, right?
Yeah, actually, I think she stayed a little bit longer than I'd expected, which is good. I was going to go back to the 3 goals thing for a second. I would say 2 of those goals were absolutely not Cassie's fault or could not have been stopped by her.
Yeah.
Because they were basically from the left crossed into somebody on the backside. And the one that maybe could have been stopped by her ended up being a double post shot. So I'm not really blaming her on any of those.
Yeah. No, I think so. It's hard to blame keeper. I mean, I think, I mean, the second one for sure, it's so difficult to scramble across your line like that to the back post. First one, she maybe could have done something a little bit different with her positioning there, but also you really have to just tip your cap to Alyssa Thompson for making a freaking brilliant play. a lot of love and respect for Laura Lindsay. She kept on calling it a no look goal, but like I didn't. It was definitely not a no look shot like into the goal. She was definitely took a peek and then dropped her head down to look at make sure she was striking the ball, and that was what happened. But the other interesting thing too on that one, just I mean the way she got into the space that she got, probably not ideal either, defending. And then, of course, the goal from June Endo, that's a hard one. Slow and hard, tucked into the far post. I don't know much you could have done there. So, excuse me. But yeah, I would agree with you. I don't know that I would put any of them really on Cassie in that stretch, but just one of those things of, if you're going to send your message about goals getting put in, I wouldn't say every goal that not every goal that AD Franch let in was her fault.
No.
During her stretch too. So, I think there's you for a coach, you probably need to be consistent with your words and your actions there, to make sure that you continue to have the respect of your team. And that's one thing that I think might play a factor.
True. Yeah, I'm not blaming a lot of the goals that was given up by AD on AD either. It was
No.
We know the back line had problems, and
Yep.
it is been doing magnificent for being as young as it is, but it still has that youth factor to it. So
Yeah.
It'll be interesting when they do get E-ball back on how she ends up managing that back line, and how which players are starting versus being there to be coming off the bench if needed, because they don't have a whole lot of actual true defense coming off the bench at the moment.
Nope.
The which is one of the things that we saw in this week in training is that E-ball and Kristen Hamilton are still not in training. They are getting close, is what I've been told. So when they are back in training, I don't know how long it'll be before they can actually get on the field, because I know it's been pretty long for Kristen Hamilton.
Yeah.
It's been a little less time for Elizabeth Ball, but I don't think you want to probably put her out to start right away either. So
Right. Well, I mean, those injuries were maybe about a week apart, right? I mean, I think Hammy picked up her injury like the week before season started, and then the week at obviously in that first game is when E-ball picked hers up too. So,
I'm not actually sure when Hamilton picked up the injury, because we didn't really see her in preseason. So
that's true.
And this will go back to the Current have been very secretive, quiet, non-communicative on some of these injuries. So I think it's opening up a little bit now, but it still is.
It's definitely opening up a little bit now, in terms of being able to get legitimate information. I think, last week, what did we ask? I want to say I asked her, was it last week? Very recently, I remember asking about the availability of a certain player, for that match, and Caroline was very forthcoming, in giving us that information. Something Potter would have maybe tried to use to his advantage and to kind of dance around it and not really give us something true there. For whatever reason that was, it's hard to get information back to fans, about what players they could expect on the field. But I think it's been a little bit better, in the recent weeks, in terms of timeline. I wouldn't be surprised to see Hamilton and E-ball, within a few weeks here. I would expect them back within at least 2-3 weeks, to be in the mix, to be back. So
yeah, I would expect them to be in training in the next week or two, back in some form of training. That doesn't mean full training. That doesn't mean ready to start, but back into actually, hey, now we can see how they're doing, kind of thing.
Yep.
And then after that, it'll probably be a little while before anybody else is coming back.
Yeah. Yep. I would say, from what I've gathered, Morgan Gautreau would be the next step out of any of those players, and that that timeline is maybe a little bit closer than all of us previously thought. So
Well, that'd be good. Because I was fearing it would be Loera.
yeah, no, I think she finally is just getting into doing rehab, like beginning her rehab process after they've had the time where it's
Right.
a foot thing, can't put a whole lot of weight on it and do a whole lot there. But I think from what I gather, via her Instagram, that she is she's back on sort of the mend. So
Did see her actually like standing up and not on a scooter, so
no,
that was a positive.
no more Scoot. Although the Scoot made for some fun pictures via the team socials and
I didn't say she shouldn't bring it with her to the game, but did see her actually standing up. So, all right. Any, I know, just going back to a little bit of what we talked about San Diego being a little more predictable. Well,
mm-hmm.
you have Alex Morgan. You know that a lot is going to be fed to her, no matter what team she's on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess unless you're the national team, then it's not so much anymore. But an NWSL team is going to feed Alex Morgan as much as possible and play
Mm-hmm.
through her, and at least in certain circumstances. So if you can kind of isolate her,
Yeah.
you're probably going to have some success against that team.
Yeah. Jaden Shaw is obviously one to keep on a lookout on. She's scored a bunch of goals. Has been very bright for them so far. I think that's going to be the real dangerous player outside of Alex Morgan that you're really going to have to think about in this game, just because she's been as good as she has at the beginning of the season. She wasn't released to the U20 World Cup team, and so that means she's available this week, or U20 World Cup qualifiers, I think, for the CONCACAF tournament for
Yeah.
U20 women. So she wasn't called up to that. It seems like I don't know if they blocked it or decided to keep her around because she is a full-on first team member and has those responsibilities. But she'll be in KC, and that'll be another tough player to stop.
Right. Before we completely run out of time, any very short last words?
No, other than just thank you all for listening to us ramble, and always great to have Jillian on here and hear your guys' feedback and support on social media as well. So thank you to everybody I mentioned there, and yeah.
Thanks to everybody for listening, and we are out.
Out.